Hola a todos, bueno, pues bienvenidos, espero que se sientan cómodos.
Hi everyone, welcome. Hope you feel comfortable.
Sí, pues principalmente agradecerle a todas las personas que hicieron esto posible de reunirnos todos aquí.
First, we want to thank everyone who made it possible for us to be here tonight.
Y pues igual queremos conocer un poquito más de todos ustedes. Yo estuve hace como 2 o 3 semanas aquí, igual platicando con un grupo de ustedes y quisiera igual que se presentaran los que ya me conocen o conocen un poquito más de la organización.
So first, we want to get to know you all a little bit better. I was here a couple weeks ago chatting with another group. So yeah, if anyone has an experience that they want to share, if they know anything about us, raise your hand and tell us. Yeah.
Some of us here are also from Justice, so like, I'm happy to come and see the other side of it. Really excited to see the other side. It was just amazing and very.
Sí, pues sí, como te dijo la compañera, estuvimos en una plática de No Más Polimigra y pues ahora queremos hablarle un poquito más de otro programa que tenemos que se llama Leche con Dignidad.
So as I said, we were here talking about our other program, No Más Polimigra, no more like collaboration between local police and ICE. So now we're here and we're going to talk a little bit more tonight about our other program, Milk with Dignity.
Sí, y bueno, pues igual darle un poquito de recordatorio que bueno, esta es una gira que empezamos nosotros los trabajadores y pues este es nuestro tercer día de gira.
Yeah, we also. No, todo bien.
Sí.
We also want to say that we're on a big tour right now. Today is our third day of the tour.
Sí, y bueno, tenemos 50 acciones en 7 estados de aquí de alrededor de Vermont.
Yeah, so we have 50 stops across 7 states.
Sí, y bueno, mientras platicamos, creo que tenemos una computadora, una laptop que vamos a estar pasando para reunir la información de ustedes, el contacto.
While we're talking, we're going to pass a computer around that we don't have set up if you want to avail it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're going to pass that around. So there's a spreadsheet if you want to put in your information and what potential volunteer stuff you want to get involved with in the future.
Sí.
¿Vas a presentar o?
Sí, todo vamos a aprender. Bueno, y bueno, vamos a presentar a todos el equipo. Bueno, mi nombre es José Ignacio, soy parte del Comité de Coordinación de Justicia Migrante y pues más conocido como Nacho.
We're going to introduce ourselves now. My name is Jose Ignacio, better known as Nacho, and I'm part of the coordinating committee at Migrant Justice.
Hola a todos, mi nombre es Rosy Alfaro y soy organizadora con Justicia Migrante.
Hi everyone, my name is Rosy Alfaro, and I'm an organizer at Migrant Justice. And I'm Rachel. I'm an intern at Migrant Justice. Okay. That's Abel. He's also.
I'm at Migrant Justice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sí, y bueno, pues ahora quisiera platicarle un poquito más de qué es justicia migrante.
Now we're going to talk a little bit more about who Migrant Justice is.
Justicia Migrante es una organización creada y liderada por los trabajadores en los ranchos lecheros del estado de Vermont.
So Migrant Justice is a grassroots organization founded and led by migrant farm workers here in the state of Vermont.
Construimos la voz y la capacidad para empoderar a todos los trabajadores con sus derechos.
And we build the voice and capacity of migrant farm workers so that they can strengthen their own voices.
Involucrando también a aliados.
And we include allies as well. We work with allies as well.
Sí. Bueno, pues la historia de Justicia Migrante comienza hace más de 13 años por la muerte de un compañero llamado José Obed.
The story of Migrant Justice started more than 13 years ago with the death of one of our comrades, another farm worker whose name was José Obed.
Sí, pues la muerte del compañero pues revela una comunidad migrante de más de 1,000 trabajadores en los ranchos.
This tragic death revealed a community of more than 1,000 migrant farm workers on dairy farms in Vermont.
Pues fue la chispa de la muerte de él pues que nos animó a salir debajo de las sombras.
And his death was the spark that pushed us to step out from the shadows.
Pues, pues de ese entonces pues nos hemos reunido para platicar de cuáles son los problemas que tenemos más en los ranchos y hemos hecho como asambleas.
Yeah, so with that, we started gathering together in assemblies to talk about what was going on at the farms and what we needed to change.
Sí. Bueno. Pues entre el 80 y el 90% de los trabajadores de los ranchos lecheros son inmigrantes de México y de Guatemala.
So between 80 and 90% of the labor force on dairy farms are migrant workers from Mexico, Guatemala.
Pues los inmigrantes pues sostenemos la industria lechera aquí en el estado de Vermont y alrededor de todo el país.
And we as migrant workers sustain the dairy industry both here. Oh. We sustain the dairy industry both, no, thank you. Both here in the state of Vermont and around the country.
Bueno, pues los ranchos son pues muy pequeños y están muy aislados, entonces pues somos invisibles para la comunidad.
So the farms, the ranches are really small and really isolated, so we're made invisible to the community.
Pues muchos compañeros están trabajando, pues ganando menos del salario mínimo y pues trabajando entre 60 y 80 horas a la semana.
So many farm workers are working for less than minimum wage and work for between 70 and 80 hours a week.
Sí, pues muchas veces sin día de descanso y pues también compartiendo cuarto. El cuarto lo compartimos entre 2 o 3 personas.
Yeah, so often without any days of rest. So often without any days of rest, and we share rooms, 2 or 3 people to a room, 2 or 3 people to a bed.
Sí, pues muchas veces las casas son muy viejas y pues le hace falta como agua o calentón y pues trabajamos donde vivimos y vivimos donde trabajamos también.
So many of the houses are really old and don't have things like water and heat. And we live where we work where we live.
Pues también tenemos un alto porcentaje de accidentes con los animales, con las maquinarias, con los químicos.
And we have really high rates of accidents with the animals themselves, with the heavy machinery, with the chemicals that we're using.
Pues también las mujeres igual tienen acoso sexual y pues también eres discriminado por tu, ¿cómo se llama? Aparece género,
Yeah.
sí. Entonces sí, muchas cosas, hasta tráfico de humanos.
So many of the women who work on farms suffer from sexual harassment and discrimination because of their gender. And it even goes so far as human trafficking on some of these farms.
Sí, y bueno, y ahora pues quisiera como platicarle un poquito de mi testimonio, de lo que he vivido igual cuando recién llegué aquí al estado de Vermont.
So now I want to share a little bit of my own story and give testimony to what I experienced when I first came to the state of Vermont.
Sí, pues yo llegué aquí hace 7 años al estado de Vermont y pues mi primer trabajo fue en un rancho.
So I came here to Vermont 7 years ago, and my first job was on a ranch.
Y bueno, cuando entré a trabajar, pues un familiar me consiguió el trabajo cerca de la frontera y pues no podía salir a la tienda a hacer compras ni nada de eso.
And when I first arrived, someone that I knew, a friend, helped me find a job, but it was really close to the border with Canada, so we couldn't leave, we couldn't go to the store, nothing like that.
Pues entonces, bueno, principalmente pues estábamos encerrados todo el tiempo, trabajando a 2 turnos de trabajo.
Yeah, so we were trapped inside, stuck on the farm all day, working 2 shifts every day.
Sí, pues mi primer turno era de 3 de la mañana a 12 del día y el siguiente era de 3 de la tarde a 12 de la noche.
So I worked from 3 a.m. to noon and then 3 p.m. to midnight.
Sí, y bueno, pues el momento que estaba yo sin trabajar, pues lo ocupaba para cocinar, para lavar mi ropa, para hablar a mis familiares en México.
And the little time that I had for myself, I spent cooking, washing my laundry, and speaking to my family in Mexico.
No tenía un día de descanso.
I didn't have a day off.
Sí, y pues eso, así trabajé por año y medio hasta que me enfermé de un dolor de muela.
And I worked this way for a year and a half until one day I became sick with a tooth infection.
Sí, tuve que ir al doctor y el doctor me sacó la muela
I had to go to the doctor and the doctor removed my tooth.
El doctor me dio un papel donde no podía trabajar unos días y se lo entregué al patrón. Cuando se lo entregó al patrón, pues él me dice que yo necesito estar trabajando todo el tiempo.
So the doctor gave me a note that said I wasn't supposed to work for a couple days, and I gave it to the rancher, to the farm owner, and he said that I had to continue working.
Sí, pues yo me aferré a descansar 3 días y cuando regreso a trabajar, el patrón me dijo que ya no tenía mi trabajo.
But I was too sick to work, so I stayed home for 3 days, and when I returned to the job, my boss told me that I had been fired, that I didn't have a job anymore.
Y pues así fue despedido injustificadamente.
So I was unjustly fired.
Sí, y bueno, y pues como sucede muchas veces en muchos ranchos, hay muchas como despido injustificado.
And this happens a lot on a lot of farms. There are a lot of unjust firings.
Sí, y pues la pregunta que nos hacemos, ¿por qué las cosas son así?
So we asked ourselves, why are things this way?
Aunque hay muchos ranchos que intentan hacer las cosas bien, pues también son limitados económicamente.
And even though there are a lot of ranches that try to do the right thing, they're also economically limited.
Pues para entender esta situación, pues la tenemos que ver desde la raíz.
So to understand this situation, we have to understand it from its root causes.
Esto no es una situación única a los ranchos lecheros, sino pues es una situación que viene desde hace tiempo.
This isn't something that this situation doesn't only happen on dairy farms. It's something that happens in a lot of industries right now.
Pues vamos a ver un pequeño video para entender un poco más de todo esto que le estoy hablando.
So we have a little video that we're going to watch that explains a little more about what we're talking about.
From food and clothing to electronics, many of the goods we use every day come to us through supply chains. Atop the supply chains are name brands with instantly recognizable logos. In recent decades, these companies have experienced remarkable growth. Mega buyers now wield unprecedented market power to purchase goods and services as cheaply as possible, pressuring suppliers to cut prices or lose out to their competitors. This price pressure drives employers to cut wages and push workers even harder. Sweatshop conditions and dangerous workplaces are the norm. Forced labor and sexual violence take root as well. While much of this exploitation is invisible to consumers, disasters sometimes pierce the veil. To each of these tragedies, corporations respond with crisis management public relations, promise to do better. They point to their voluntary standards without enforcement. Unsurprisingly, nothing changes for workers. But what if there were another path? In recent years, workers have developed a new paradigm for protecting their rights in supply chains. Worker-driven social responsibility has been tested from the agricultural fields of the United States to the apparel factories of Bangladesh. In these harsh environments, WSR has proven its ability to change workers' lives. Here's how. WSR is driven by workers themselves and based in legal agreements with brands at the top of supply chains. This ensures workplace standards are binding and enforceable. Suppliers who violate their workers' rights immediately lose their buyer's business. These agreements also commit brands to pay prices that allow for and incentivize suppliers to comply. Finally, WSR requires independent monitoring in which workers themselves play a frontline role. Real progress is seldom easy, but worker-driven social responsibility offers a blueprint at last to ensure dignified conditions for the 500 million people working in factories, farms, and other workplaces across the world who touch our lives every single day.
Trabajadores que lideran la responsabilidad, pues también tenemos la industria lechera que creamos el programa.
So
Leche con dignidad.
Yeah. No, todo bien. ¿Puedes repetirlo?
Okay,
This
sí.
is one of my first times interpreting, so
Pues aplicando el modelo WSR, trabajadores que lideran la responsabilidad social, pues la industria lechera, pues creamos el programa Leche con Dignidad.
Yeah, so we are applying this WSR system to make change within the dairy industry. And this program is called Milk with Dignity.
Y la primera compañía que invitamos a que se una al programa Leche con Dignidad fue la compañía Ben & Jerry's. No sé si muchos de ustedes conocen, es una compañía de helados muy rico. Pero, okay.
Yeah. So the first company that we invited to join this program, don't know if you know them, Ben & Jerry's, they make really good ice cream.
Sí, pero de tanto rico que está, no sabemos de cómo viene de todo atrás para poder disfrutar un helado como eso.
Yeah, but as delicious as it is, you have to recognize all the work and all the suffering behind it that made it as good as it is.
Sí, pero la compañía no aceptó de un principio, tardó casi 3 años, para que la compañía pueda aceptar el programa.
But they didn't join right away. It took us 3 years to get them to join.
Sí, fueron casi 3 años de negociación pública y pues hicimos como protestas en sus tiendas, piquetes, marchas, acciones y después de tanto eso.
Yeah, so it was 3 years of public action, negotiations, things like demonstrations at their stores, writing letters, phone calls, stuff like that.
Y el 3 de octubre del 2017 fue la primera compañía que se sentó a la mesa para firmar un contrato. Para nosotros fue un momento histórico.
So the 3rd of October 2017 was the day that they sat down and signed the contract, and for us that was a historic day.
Y pues Ben & Jerry's ha implementado el 100% de su cadena noreste aquí en Vermont.
So Ben & Jerry's has now put this program into place on 100% of their supply chain here in the Northeast.
Cubre más de 200 trabajadores en la industria lechera de aquí Vermont y también hay ranchos en Nueva York.
It covers more than 200 dairy workers here in Vermont and more outside of the state.
Sí, millones de dólares ha llegado a los bolsillos de los trabajadores, como aumentos de sueldos, buenas viviendas, días de descanso, vacaciones y entre otras cosas que igual como respetan ahora los derechos de los trabajadores. Y también para el ranchero lleva como un alivio económico, un incentivo por su participación en el programa.
So thousands of dollars have gone directly into the pockets of farm workers through increased wages, days off, bonuses, and better housing. And like beyond that, we've gotten much more respect on the farms. And for the ranchers, for the farm owners, they've got an economic incentive as well.
Pues para nosotros es el nuevo día ha llegado.
Yeah, for us, the new day has arrived.
Y un pequeño testimonio sobre el programa Leche con Dignidad, pues que ahora tienen como muchos beneficios. Ya mencioné, tienen vacaciones, un salario digno, una vivienda digna, tienen como vacaciones, días de descanso, días de enfermedad. Mi compañero les platicó hace rato que fue la situación fuera del programa, él fue despedido. Pero dentro del programa eso te cubre, que si estás enfermo tienes el derecho de descansar y tus días son pagados y puedes regresar en tu trabajo. Entonces es una gran diferencia que hay y como también que son respetados los derechos, no te pueden correr sin algo que no has hecho.
Yeah, so some more of the benefits under this program, we have days off, we have just wages, we have paid sick leave. Situations like Nacho described earlier of getting fired for being sick, they don't happen anymore. People are paid when they're sick, they're paid when they're not there, which is a huge change because situations like that don't need to happen anymore.
Ahora pues estamos enfocados en expandir el programa con la compañía Hannaford.
So now we're focused on expanding the program with the Hannaford company.
Es una cadena muy grande que tiene más de 200 tiendas alrededor del país.
It's a huge chain. They have more than 200 locations around the country.
Es una tienda muy grande que compra su leche y que vende por su propia marca.
So it's a huge store and they have their own brand name milk that they sell.
Y pues para nosotros vimos una oportunidad grande para expandir el programa.
Yeah, so we saw a huge opportunity there to expand the program.
En el 2019 invitamos a Hannaford a que se una al programa de Leche con Dignidad, pero no nos escuchó.
So in 2019, we invited Hannaford to join with the Milk with Dignity program, but they didn't listen to us.
Y pues hemos estado presionando de diferente manera. Hemos hecho como marchas, piquetes, acciones, giras, y pues ahí seguimos presionándolo, pero hasta el momento no nos ha escuchado.
So we've been pushing for this in a lot of different ways, marches, protests, anything we can to get them to sign on, and they still haven't listened to us.
Sí. Y también los consumidores han presionado, mandándole cartas, llamadas, emails, en todo eso.
Yeah, and consumers from Hannaford have helped us a lot, writing thousands of letters, making a bunch of phone calls, stuff like that.
También tenemos como solidaridad con otras organizaciones como Pride. Pride rechazó el incentivo, el bono que ellos le dan para sus marchas. Dijo que no lo quiere más si no firman el contrato.
And we have ally organizations as well, such as the Pride Center, who just this past summer said to Hannaford that they don't want their money anymore. They don't want any more Hannaford money until they sit down and sign and have a conversation with us.
La lucha lo hemos llevado hasta a Europa, porque ahí está la madre de Hannaford, Ahold Hasey.
So the fight has even come to Europe, where the mother company of Hannaford is.
Hemos organizado también con inversionistas de Ahold.
So we've been organizing with investors at the mother company.
Y pues durante los 3 años de campaña en su cadena de Hannaford, ahora pues queremos enseñarles un video de un compañero en un rancho que sufrió un accidente muy grave. El video es un poco fuerte.
So during these 3 years that we've been fighting, these abuses have continued to happen on the farms. So we're going to show you a video that's a testimony from a worker who suffered a grave accident on a farm. And so, the video's a little graphic, very strong.
Mi nombre es Jesús Zúñiga y quiero compartir con ustedes un testimonio que me pasó en un rancho ganadero de vacas lecheras. Quiero compartir con ustedes este testimonio porque me ocurrió un accidente en mi trabajo, el cual el día que ocurre el accidente, una máquina que a lo mejor muchos de ustedes conocen, pues un tractor o sea skister, a la hora de estar operando con él, me doy cuenta que esta maquinaria no estaba en buen estado. Entonces yo la reporto ese día en 3 ocasiones y no fui escuchado. Entonces al final del día pues me ocurre esta desgracia. Si pueden notar aquí en mi pie ahora, pues lo tengo vendado. Igual ahorita yo tengo una cita en el hospital, con el cual pues me tiene pues preocupado porque yo padezco de diabetes. Entonces me van a amputar, está en proceso que me van a amputar parte de mi pie. Entonces yo quiero ver pues también darles a saber que no estamos bien en todos los ranchos, como se dice. Hay uno que reporta las maquinarias y no es uno escuchado. Así es que yo doy este testimonio para que todos luchemos por nuestros derechos. Es lo que yo puedo por mi parte decirles, que hay que luchar porque en todos los trabajos tengamos seguridad laboral. Eso es lo que yo les puedo compartir. Gracias. Y pues de alguna forma también hacerle la invitación a Hannaford para que vea que no todos los ranchos es como él dice. Hay cosas que todavía se necesitan por hacer. Y creo que muchas veces no somos escuchados y aquí está una muestra de eso.
As you guys can see, the human rights abuses, if I can get this thing to stay, yep. The human rights abuses in Hannaford supply chain, are shocking. Hannaford knows that they have a public relations problem right in the front door, in the front steps. And you would think that, basically they don't want people to know, but they don't want consumers to know. They don't want consumers to associate their products, dairy products, their dairy brand milk with human rights abuses in their supply chain, such as this kind of incident that we just seen And you will think that after workers are exposing the reality, after workers are exposing the truth, left, and right, a company such a big company as Hannaford, that they have a lot of money, they have about 200 stores throughout the Northeast. You think that they will do the right thing. If there is allegations of human rights abuses in their supply chain, you will think that this company will do the right thing by joining the Meal with Dignity program. It's not a surprise. That they haven't joined. What they are doing, they are trying to fool us. They're trying to fool consumers. They're trying to fool, workers by simply creating a top-down program and basically expanding a worker complaint line to the rest of their suppliers. So meaning they created, worker complaint line that basically they're extending that to the farms where they're buying the milk from. And they hope that by doing that, workers are going to be workers like Jesus, workers like Nacho, right? We heard from Nacho, he got sick, went to the doctor because of a tooth. He took a day off and he got fired, right? And they think that by just providing a worker complaint line, workers are going to call, workers are going to complain, and everything's going to be, working perfectly. We know that that's not going to happen. We know that that doesn't work. We said, okay, that's great. You have a working complaint line. We're going to test it out. We're going to make sure, we're going to prove you're wrong. We're going to, show you that these top-down programs do not work. If the workers are not designing, if the workers are not participating in creating, the code of conduct and work standards, nothing is going to work, because the CEO and whoever is creating these, these standards, they don't know what it's like to be on a farm. They don't know what it's like to wake up at 5 in the morning, at 1 in the morning, milk cows, milk 1,000 cows between two people. They don't know that reality. And so, so we say, okay, let's test it out. So we went to a lot of different farms that we know that are possibly selling to Hannafords, and we talked to the workers. And it was 11 farms. There was 11 complaints that got submitted to that worker complaint line. And these are just 3 quotes that we pulled out from those 11 complaints. I'm going to ask for 3 people to help me read them out loud, please. Raise your hand if you're, you want to help us read. Okay. 1, 2, 1 more, 3. Okay, so yeah, we can start 1, 2, and then 3.
Supervisor was a very violent man. He was carrying a machete. He wanted to hurt my mother. My boss fired us for calling the police.
This place used to be storage for the cows feed. It's not built for housing people. Walls and ceiling are bare plywood. Water drips into the bedroom when it. We bathe by mixing cold and hot water in a bucket and pouring it over ourselves. Bones have bruised.
And so those are just 3 quotes that we pulled out from those 11 complaints that were submitted. To give you an idea of what has happened, it's taken 6 months just to hear back from, from somewhat a corporate Hannafords. And I'm going to ask for somebody to help me read their response. This is what they responded to every single complaint that has been submitted, all 11 of them. This has been their response. Can somebody help me read it, please?
The allegations have been investigated and determined to be inconsistent with what was observed at the time of the assessment.
Yep, that is their answer. That's what we can hope from basically, workers calling this complaint line. They're going to be ignored. And one of these complaints that was submitted was directly from a farm where Jesus got injured. 6 months before his injury, one of the workers made a complaint to that complaint line that they created and expanded to the rest of the farms. In 6 months, Jesus got injured, lost his toe and part of his foot. Hannaford did not bother to come to the farm. They did not bother to come and talk to Jesus. They're not involved whatsoever. And so we had to make the public. We created a video. We got Jesus' testimony, and we made it public. And it wasn't until we made it public and we started calling upon Hannaford's attention that they responded. And this was their response. That they're basically saying that it is not their fault. And that's why we're on the road. That is why we're here. That is why we're doing the Meal with Dignity tour. Because this kind of things cannot continue to happen, right? We have to make sure that Hannafords, does the right thing, make sure that they cross, the finish line, and start taking responsibility for the human rights abuses in their supply chain. Like Rosie mentioned, Hannafords is, big buyer of milk. They have a big say in how much they pay to the farmers for their milk, and they're paying really crappy prices. And what does that mean? That means that workers now get to experience these kind of conditions because they don't want to pay better wages. They don't want to pay higher prices for the milk. They don't want to join the Milk with Dignity program. So this is the kind of thing that we end up with. I'm going to hold people for questions towards the end, but if we can switch the slide. Yeah, so one of the things that we're doing, it's there's a big day of action. So, part of the Bill with Dignity tour, part of the 50 stops that we're going to be doing throughout the 7 different states, is to rally up our base, rally up allies, consumers across the Northeast, people that go to the Hannaford, whether you buy milk or whether you consume dairy or not. This is about human rights, and if you guys are consumers, you are voting with your dollars. You have power with your money. And so we're trying to get every single person to turn out to June 24th. If you sign up on our email list, you're gonna hear from us. But if you want to take a pledge right now, if you feel strong and committed, you can go online and scan that code and sign up. That's going to be that's going to be one of the biggest actions that we have had in the past 3 years, calling upon Hannafords. We're going to be meeting right next to the Hannaford's headquarters. We're going to be marching. We're going to be singing. We're going to be taking action. And so we're trying to get as many people as we can to turn out to that day. So if there's a group of you guys that are feel like, I want to go and make my voice be heard. Get organized. We have buses coming down from Burlington, going all the way to Maine. It's going to be in Maine, by the way. I didn't mention. It's going to be in Maine. We'll have buses going from Vermont to Maine. If you guys need, we can stop by the Vermont Law School or nearby, and we can, fill the bus of people. We're serious. We're trying to get as many people as we can. Or if you guys are, if you guys have a way of getting there, even better. But we're trying to get as many people as we can to show up to that day. I'm going to change it. Yep. And so, that's one of the things that we wanted to put out there, make sure that people know about that. If you have friends, tell them about it. And again, a lot of people might feel like, well, I don't need dairy. I'm not involved in dairy industry or whatever. Have a conversation with people in your networks, with friends. This is really important. At the end of the day, we all are, consumers, and we should be holding our Hannaford responsible. But another thing that we wanted to do, just in case those of you that maybe out for vacations or don't have the time to go up to Maine, one of the things that we're doing is hitting Hannafords on their Facebook page through social media. So one of the things that we're doing, it's workers are basically taking pictures of themselves on the barn, on the parlor. And they're posting that on the Hannaford's Facebook page. I think if you go forward one more, that might be yeah, there we go. So Hannaford's is really proud about their recipes that they come out every other day or so. They really are. They use Facebook to to fool consumers and promote themselves as we are the good guys. Look at us, everybody's happy, cows, farmers, and workers, everybody's happy in their supply chain. So they're using social media to promote themselves as the good guys. And what we're doing is, well, we're going to show your consumers, what's behind your dairy products, right? So workers are, taking pictures of themselves, pictures of their family, or their workplace, and they're putting it up on the Hannaford's Facebook page. So we're going to ask you guys to take some action today with us. If you guys want to pull out your phones, your cell phones. I know a lot of people have Facebook. A lot of people don't have Facebook. But if you have a Facebook, go open it up and go to the Hannaford Supermarkets page on Facebook. And as you start scrolling down, you're going to see a lot of the recipes that these guys are coming up with. And you can click on one of them, you'll see a lot of comments from allies that have been posting in the past past 2 days. You guys will see a lot of different stuff. Pick one of those recipes or pictures that they have, open it up and make a comment. What we're trying to do is the hashtag Meal with Dignity, Hannaford join hashtag Meal with Dignity. To leave a comment, Vermont Law School students are sending solidarity with migrant workers and the Meal with Dignity program. A lot of that sort of stuff. So I'll give you a couple of a minute or so to do it. If you already done it, share it. Tell people about it. Tell your friends about it. The more Hannafords, and this is the thing, right? With Ben and Jerry's, it was a 3-year campaign. It wasn't easy. By the end of the day, it was stuff like this. People. It was what moved them really was knowing that farm workers are not alone. And the more that they can keep seeing these messages and these posts, the more they're going to start feeling the pressure. And eventually, not now, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next month, but eventually they're going to have to come and sign on to the Meal with Dignity program, because there's no way out for them. They cannot say there's no human rights abuses in my supply chain until they join the Meal with Dignity program. Until then, they cannot, say that or claim that.
I just wanted to say also, Facebook is definitely ideal. We also have Instagram and Twitter. So anything we have, go at it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they really use social media to fool people, to fool consumers, and to promote lies. So, the more we can start reminding them that workers are not alone, and the more people are getting educated, and the more people are getting to know the conditions that the workers are facing, and that we are starting to understand that the brand milk and the dairy products are tied to human rights abuses. The more they're going to have to come to the table and sit down with workers. All right, so I think that people might be done with their Facebook. So yeah, thank you guys for doing that. And I think that's one of the actions that we wanted to mention. We already mentioned the 24th. Happening in Maine, and I think I think we might be ready to open it up for some questions, any comments, something that wasn't clear. We want to make sure that you guys leave today with a full understanding of what it is that we're trying to do.
I saw that Selena had a question really quick. Also, Professor Jill Martin Diaz and Professor Beyranovand are very active in this, and we're in the chat and we're talking. If y'all are interested and want a source or someone to reach out to, definitely them too. And then if you're too shy to reach out to one of them, you could also reach out to me and Luis, and we can put you in connect with someone from Migrant Justice, or also just see how many people are interested in the stop or whatnot and get all the contact info out. Okay, so Selena, you had a question.
My question is, back when the slide about the complaints and their I can't remember the correct words, but when they said to be inconsistent with what was observed at the time of the assessment, I don't know if you guys know this question, but after a complaint is submitted, what's their form of assessment? Do they go physically to that farm and do an inspection? What is an assessment for them?
Supuestamente Hannaford llegaba a los ranchos, pero solamente llegaba a investigar como a patrones o a encargados. Nunca fue directamente a los trabajadores. Por eso es de que Hannaford sale con esta solución.
So they do. They say that they go to the farms. They talk to the bosses and the middleman, I guess, the manager there. But they don't ever talk directly with workers.
Anyone else have any other questions?
I'll just add to that answer. I think that Rosie's right. They never talk to the workers, but we're not 100% sure if they ever show up to the farm. I think a lot of the times, we don't know what their CEO. He could be in Netherlands for all we know. And, he just might be making a phone call to the farmer. And the reality is, they created this worker complaint line. Nobody is going to call the worker complaint line. If they call the farmer is not going to tell them, yeah, a worker just lost food on my farm. They don't want, the company that they're selling milk to know. They're going to hide all of those conditions. And so, I think the majority of the time, it's just a quick phone call. Hey, did this happen? The farmer is going to be like, oh, no, this didn't happen. Everything is fine. This is the kind of, that's their reality. They don't take the time to come to the farm to talk to workers.
Thank you for that. And thank you for being here and taking the time. And thank you for the work you do. My question was, sorry, I got to try in a second. My question was if any of the companies that have signed the Milk with Dignity contracts or agreements, if they put any pressure on Hannaford's or any of the other people you're looking at, like does Ben & Jerry's put any pressure on Hannaford? Thank you.
Ben & Jerry's, they're doing, what they can. I think, they cannot, push Hannaford, say, do this thing. I think, what Ben & Jerry's is doing, they're promoting, that they're, so what the Milk with Dignity program demands is that there is, education on the farms for workers to know the Milk with Dignity program, know the rights. There's economic redistribution for the farmer and the worker. There's a legally binding agreement, and there's a couple of more things. And so, Ben & Jerry's is promoting that, they are the only company that so far has signed on to the Milk with Dignity program. So they are, publicly, sharing some of the results, some of the changes that they have seen, some of the impact on their farms before the Milk with Dignity program and after the Milk with Dignity program, the transformation that has happened in those farms, both for workers and also for farmers themselves, because farmers get a higher premium for their milk. And so, Ben & Jerry's, they're doing, what they can do to promote the Milk with Dignity program and to get companies, to buy in. And, they're saying, hey, we're this company. We're championing the Milk with Dignity program. We're the first company that joined it. And we are also one other companies to do the same thing. But but they can only do so much. And I think that's where all of us come in, consumers and allies, and taking on the streets and taking our fight there.
No, you're so good.
Just to add on to his question, has any lawmakers or legislators kind of spoke out on this? Has the state of Vermont taken any action? I think I know the answer, but just.
Bueno, pues el estado de Maine, donde está como las oficinas de Hannaford, ahí ellos hicieron una carta para la industria lechera de Hannaford, que se una al programa Leche con Dignidad también, pero pues igual muchas personas como dicen que o piensan que hay como leyes similares a lo que estamos pidiendo, pero en realidad no hay ninguna persona que supervise que se apliquen todas las leyes.
So in the state of Maine, not even Vermont, in the state of Maine, some legislators have written a letter calling on Hannaford to join the Milk with Dignity program and trying to push them. And as we know, there's protections for workers, but the reality is that there is no enforcement when it comes to enforcing certain laws that are already there. And just to add to Nacho's answer, the state of Vermont is not doing much. I think we spoke to some of the legislators, and they're we're also trying to see how the state of Vermont, because they're a huge buyer of dairy, how can they be part of the Milk with Dignity program? They buy milk from certain companies, so they also have a big purchasing power. So we're trying to explore with the state of Vermont, what can they do as a purchasing entity. But in terms of them sort of pushing Hannaford, they're not doing much. And to be completely honest, when we started the Milk with Dignity campaign about, before Ben and Jerry's, when we were campaigning Ben and Jerry's, and before that, we went to the state of Vermont. There was a moment where we were like, okay, there's all of these different issues. So we did a survey, and a lot of different problems came out. And so we had a moment where we were, as an organization, the coordinating committee leaders got together, and they were, how do we solve these issues? Low wages, poor housing conditions, poor working conditions. We had a conversation with the state of Vermont, and it was really clear that the state of Vermont doesn't have the capacity to enforce any of this, right? And so we were left with, that the only solution for this is to, create a program where workers are basically designing their own Department of Labor, basically, where that's basically what we did, create our own Department of Labor with a really strong enforcement mechanism. Yeah, that is sort of how we see the state of Vermont playing in.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for being here. You pretty much already answered my question. I was going to ask you to speak a little bit more about how farm workers are essentially excluded from OSHA and other federal regulations, and anything that the state of Vermont doing or is talking about doing of adding any additional protections.
Sí, bueno, pues ellos tienen una como base de quejas donde un trabajador puede como hablando del gobierno, tú puedes dar una queja a la base del gobierno, pero principalmente no tienen como traducción en español y la mayoría de los trabajadores somos latinos.
So the state of Vermont has this line where, like I think like the Department of Labor has this line where if your rights are being violated, you can call in. Some of those issues that we have seen, for example, is that there's no interpretation into Spanish, and the majority, 90% of the workers on farms are Spanish speaking.
Sí, y bueno, eso es un impedimento para nosotros los trabajadores, que no podemos poner una queja. Y segundo, pues no hay unas personas encargadas que supervisen que en cada rancho estén cumpliéndose todas las leyes.
And even if there was something by the state of Vermont, there's not going to be, one person that is going to go farm by farm by farm to make sure that those rights are being respected.
Sí, y bueno, bajo el programa Leche con Dignidad, pues no sé si les comentó igual mi compañero Abel, igual que existe un consejo que supervisa a todos los ranchos que están bajo el programa y pues hace una auditoría año con año también, que todo esté bien.
And under the Milk with Dignity program, there is a third-party monitoring body called the Milk with Dignity Standards Council, which is basically our enforcement mechanism under the program, where they do go farm to farm by farm, everywhere where the Milk with Dignity program is, and make sure that our rights are being respected. Just to add to that, yeah, I think the majority of farms in Vermont are pretty small. There's about 2 workers, 3 workers. You have farms where there are, very rarely, more than 10 workers, and that's where OSHA has a limit about, I think it's 12 or 10. So a lot of the farms in Vermont, basically, even if there are, human right abuses, and OSHA should be stepping in, they don't have the ability to do so because the farms are small in size. And again, even if large farms with their human rights abuses, violations, OSHA doesn't have the capacity to do anything, and that's part of the reason why, Milk with Dignity.
Es mi última pregunta, los prometo. Mi pregunta era para Ignacio, pero no tiene que responder si no se siente bien. Solo quería saber si cuando compartió su historia, si en el final recibió justicia después o no, pero no tiene que contestar si no quiere.
So Selena was asking for Ignacio. Ignacio, when he shared his story about his toothache and how his boss fired him, if he received any justice at the end. She did say you didn't have to answer if you didn't want to, but now I think he's going to answer.
Sí, pues la verdad no, pues no recibimos como esa compensación o algo así, pero pues cuando pues yo salí de ese rancho, pues todavía no era un rancho bajo el programa Leche con Dignidad, y ahora mis compañeros que se quedaron ahí, pues están gozando de todos estos beneficios que está bajo el programa, y ese rancho ha cambiado demasiado.
So basically, there was no compensation, but the farm wasn't under the Mobile Dignity Program then, and now it's under the Mobile Dignity Program. I'm no longer working there, but my colleagues, the workers that are currently working there, are enjoying the benefits that we all fought for.
Si quieres lo puedo preguntar en los dos idiomas para que sea más fácil, pero ¿cómo nosotros cómo te podemos apoyar y involucrarnos para apoyarlos a ustedes y ayudar? I'm just asking, how can we get involved to help support them in any way?
Bueno, pues creo que las mejores maneras de estar en solidaridad, pues hay muchas cosas como acciones, marchas, puede hacer llamadas, mandar cartas, emails, y pues el 24 de junio tenemos una acción en May, donde queremos que muchas personas estén para que sientan más presión.
Yeah, so standing in solidarity, showing up to rallies, to marches, sending emails, doing phone calls, but that's all important. But the most important thing is showing up on June 24th for the big day of action.
Anyone else have any other questions? Comments? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Just a comment for everybody. I guess the first action that I ever went to was with the Coalition of Immokalee Workers in Louisville, Kentucky, with their Yum brand campaign. And it was such an amazing experience. And I continued to march with them in Columbus, Ohio for their Boot the Braids campaign. And I'm excited to be there with you all on June 24th.
Thank you. Yeah. Definitely are very powerful.
Comments? No, we had a bunch of comments 5 seconds ago. Any other? Everyone's shy now. Any more questions? Comments? Do you have anything online, Luis?
Just a reminder, Jill, our faculty advisor, Professor Martin Diaz, just said, for real, reach out to them if you have any questions. And they seem to be very excited to organize like a VLS. What is it called? Yes.
And so is Professor Bayranovand. The chat, they've been popping. Okay. Anyone else have any comments? Anything you want to say? Okay, so at this point, muchas gracias por venir. Muchas gracias por su presentación. Lo apreciamos mucho como la organización de LALSA, pero también como la escuela. Es muy importante para mí y para nosotros tener esta realidad de lo que está sucediendo solamente en todo el mundo, pero también aquí mismo donde estamos ahorita. Entonces, muchas gracias. Just a reminder as well, they are selling sweaters. So if y'all are interested in sweaters, Venmo is right there. Card is online on your phone. And cash is anyone with a sweater already. I think they did mention they only have black sweaters right now. So, okay, blue. But yeah, and I do want to shout out the back of their sweaters say not one more deportation, no más deportaciones. So. So you guys can contact. Yeah, very soft and cozy. So yeah, if you guys want to purchase anything, I think any of them, point of contacts, online, and yeah. Muchísimas gracias otra vez. Gracias.
Thank you.
Follow on social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. There are pamphlets also in the front that are right there. And I think this is a wonderful way of ending our 2022-2023 e-board. So thank you.
Could we get a like a group photo, like maybe in the front? Like